The voice of sharing, Durian
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Welcome back, this is Grace.
And of course, you are with us on our second segment of the ASEAN Breakfast Call, where we interview a guest. For today, we have Stephen Sim. He's a DAP Member of Parliament for Bukit, Mertajam. Today, he's going to talk about DAP, Post-Pakatan. So, hi.
Hello.
Hi, hello, good morning, Arlene and Grace.
Yes, thank you for joining our interviews today.
And
Thank you for inviting.
oh yeah, sure. So yeah, all the way from Penang, and of course when we talk about Penang, we always think about DAP rule. but this time we are going to talk about DAP as a part of a coalition, which was Pakatan Rakyat.
Yeah.
But now Pakatan Rakyat, of course, is dead. But what's DAP's position on Pakatan? In this case, why Pakatan is not working for DAP?
I think the answer is quite obvious. Post-Muktamar, various factors, but of course the last straw of the camel's back was the Muktamar's resolution that PAS wants to end or cease relationship with DAP, which doesn't make sense if we are in a coalition together. So without a relationship of 2/3 of the coalition, there's no coalition.
Mm-hmm.
But leading up to these problems are various other factors, notably the past, especially Hadi, backing on his commitment towards the common policy platform. So that was the background to this unfortunate breakup.
But coalition making, is it really important for DAP? I mean, for Barisan Nasional, it has been one of the core structure or institution for them to be able to rule Malaysia since the last more than 50 years ago. But for DAP, what is the foundation for DAP to survive and to be able to convince people? Is it a coalition, forming a coalition?
I think the historical background to both coalitions are very different. Barisan Nasional came about in an accidental cooperation between UMNO and MCA, two very distinctive parties with two very different set of ideologies and agenda in 1952 when they were running for the KL municipal election. So it was really a marriage of convenience so that they can enlarge the vote banks.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, the Pakatan Rakyat coalition came about after the 2008 election, which means it was not together mainly to win elections. It was not the whole idea, the foundation to Pakatan Rakyat is not so that we can get as many votes as we can. But I would like to think that Pakatan Rakyat has a higher ideal, and that ideal is represented in the common policy platform.
But
to challenge the existing hegemony of UMNO, represented by its various extremist policies.
But in the past, did you foresee this would happen one day, especially with the growing ulama faction in PAS?
There's always risk in coalition making, just like any relationship. So I think we do not go into coalition expecting to break up. We go into coalition, we come up with a formal, written common policy with the anticipation to stay together, to stay on board together.
Sounds like a marriage.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's definitely not easy. It's definitely this breakup is not just it's not just emotional. I mean, it's not just in a hush. It's not easy for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure even for PAS.
how PAS has been taking this? Because if you look at the news right now, PAS supporters, some of them are joining DAP, some of them are thinking of having a new coalition, which we'll be discussing later. Some of it had joined PKR and all that. Some of them are still, somehow in beta zone.
Yep.
How is PAS members? I'm sure you have friends from PAS. How are they taking this?
I mean, I cannot claim to speak on behalf of PAS when you ask me how is PAS taking this. But from my own personal experience and encounter, especially with grassroots members, a lot of them are very frustrated with the breakup. And they felt that that resolution should not have happened. You see. So you get a sense of disappointment, especially among, not just among the grassroots members, but also among PAS supporters, especially those who have come to support PAS post-reformasi. These are people who want to see a viable alternative to Barisan Nasional. And they felt that what the Muktamar has done was actually to betray the whole, to betray their trust.
So, for DAP members, what's next? What's your next strategy?
The DAP has always been consistent in our principle, in our struggle, in our ideology. So, I think, in my opinion, what is next for DAP is actually to continue this path towards building the party as a national party. Now you see post-Muktamar, it's very interesting how PAS has, in a very unfortunate way, relegated itself to being from a national party to become a East Coast, if not a Kelantanese party. But DAP, on the other hand, has expanded in the last few years, has shown its leadership in the last few years to be one of the strongest party at the national
And DAP
level,
has recruited,
even though we have the least membership among the major parties.
and DAP has recruited quite a number of Malay members as well, including A. Samad Said.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yes,
what
yes.
kind of rebranding that DAP is trying to show here? Because in the past, DAP seems to be more popular among the Chinese community, but seems like even the mainstream Malay community is starting to perhaps see there's another side of DAP that they never knew about it.
And I really like what you said, how you describe it. It's another side of DAP that they never knew. It is not that this fact never existed. I always say that the fact that we are predominantly Chinese is not by design, but it was because of the result of being a victim of the
Electoral votes,
national
I guess?
hegemony. Barisan Nasional hegemony. Media portraying us as anti-Malay, anti-China, anti-Islam, anti-Raja Melayu. So it has pushed the DAP, being a very small party without resources or without the power of mass media, to a very small corner of the Malaysian society. When only the Chinese comes to you, then inevitably we become a Chinese-based party. But we were not like that. It is not built into the DNA of DAP. In fact, DAP from the very beginning and throughout this 50 years of existence has always been for a pluralistic, multiracial Malaysia.
But there are people who complain that some information supplied by DAP are in Chinese rather than in either all true languages or in Malay, and there are people who left DAP because they are not comfortable of DAP's Chinese chauvinistic sentiment towards the non-Chinese. Do you think DAP throughout the years, especially since 2008, have somehow changed itself to accommodate a more multicultural Malaysian members?
The thing is, like I say, built into our DNA is not a race-based party. We have never been a race-based party. Bahasa Melayu is our official language under the constitution of the party. So, all party publications, formal party publications, are available in Bahasa Melayu. But like I said, I cannot deny the fact that because as the result of this cornering by UMNO against DAP, we have more Chinese members over the years. And now and then you will get, and you see, for example, in Bukit Mertajam, a lot of my members are grassroots members. These are plumbers, farmers, odd job workers. These are DAP members. And some of them, they are more comfortable in their mother tongue. So sometimes if you go to certain places, you have a branch full of Chinese members who are not very highly educated, who are more comfortable in their mother tongue. Then you have the impression that, oh, DAP is a Chinese party. But this is the demography that was listening to us, they were supporting us for the last 40, 50 years. Not like so, it's not by design, but it's a result of how DAP has been pushed to the corner by UMNO Barisan Nasional. But ultimately, within us, the DNA is we are committed to a multiracial, to a pluralistic, fairer Malaysia for all.
You mentioned about how DAP is penetrating or had been penetrating a lot of grassroots members. But what about the largest electoral votes here? I'm talking about the rural Malay. Has DAP done anything to accommodate their needs?
The thing is, there is always programs. But programs will always remain programs. I think the larger picture is how today, like you say, the segments of the Malay community are beginning to see or rediscover DAP in that sense. That, we are definitely a party which is committed to ideals which they actually share. People like Pak Samad actually share. People like Zairil K. Johari actually share. Zairil being a second generation, his father was the founding minister cabinet of Tunku Abdul Rahman. So I think we can do a lot of programs. In fact, we have programs in the rural areas, we have programs in the Felda areas, we have programs in Kelantan, building houses, we have programs in Pian, Sabah, Sarawak. Programs can be programs. In fact, before 2008, even going into a Malay community is difficult for DAP. Yeah, it's difficult for DAP because of the kind of the defense system that UMNO has set up in the rural Malay community. But I think because of the proliferation of information, mass media, social media, people are beginning to see that, hey, DAP is not as what UMNO portrayed. And perhaps some of the ideals are even shared by us. I'm referring to the Malay community. They share these ideas with us. I myself, for the last few years, I've been, ever since I was elected, I've been doing a lot of Buka Puasa, Ramadan events, Malay community empowerment events. Even though Malay community is probably about 10% in my constituency, but it doesn't matter to us. We are a party for all Malaysians. Yeah.
And talking about party for all Malaysian, another party would be PKR. Do you think there's a kind of conflict of interest here? Like we are supposed to be the multicultural party here, and you're supposed to be like taking over the Chinese community. But do you think there's somehow?
Or would there be any like competitions, rivalries, kind of sort of?
Yeah.
Let 1,000, 100,000 million flower bloom. For the competition of ideas.
Yeah.
I'm all for the competition of ideas. I think it's a good, healthy competition between PKR and DAP. And in a way, we do complement each other. Yeah.
So in a way, the future of DAP and PKR, what I can foresee here is no longer about race or religion, since both aspire to be a multicultural political party, and not necessarily a multicultural coalition political party, which was actually more of a blueprint from the past. For multicultural political party, if you say a rivalry of ideals, do you have a certain ideological stand that PKR and DAP may differentiate from each other?
The thing is, when we talk about ideology in Malaysia, party ideology is not very obvious. Or at least, for example, DAP has always adopted social democracy as our core value. So we consider ourselves a centrist party, leaning perhaps to the left, but a centrist party. But PKR consists of PKR, the original PKR, or people who came out with Anwar Ibrahim, liberals who joined after Anwar Ibrahim was sacked from UMNO, as well as Parti Rakyat, which is really a left-leaning party. So you see a wider spectrum of political ideologies in PKR as compared to DAP. So definitely there are areas where DAP members, being Social Democrats, overlaps with PKR members, but there are also values which are different. So I think it's very difficult to pin down a value, especially for a party like PKR, which is a conglomeration of different groups that comes in after the 98 Reformasi movement.
Mm-hmm. So would pragmatism be probably the model of what?
I love that word. I think if anything, it is definitely part of the consideration. A pragmatic movement which benefits Malaysians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And talking about a new coalition, there's been reports on the news that PASMA, which is a past supporters group, will be forming a new coalition with DAP and PKR. So perhaps you can clear the air on that.
There are definitely discussion on the table about the possibility of a new coalition with some of the leaders that are not satisfied with what has happened, taken place during the Muktamar or even before the Muktamar, leading up to the Muktamar. But I think it's still early to say that there is going to be a new party. Because from my interaction with various past leaders, we are still talking about it. Because it's not an easy thing for leaders to leave their party.
Mm-hmm.
And we must know that even if they leave, it is not out of self-interest. It is not out of just mere merajuk. How do you say merajuk in English? It's not just throwing tantrums because they lost, but because there is a deeply entrenched frustration that the party has swayed away from its original struggle. So I think it's not easy for these leaders to make this decision. But there are definitely talks, discussion on the table on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that means, there will be a new coalition in the future, I suppose, or would they?
It is inevitable. 2 months before this, way before the Muktamar, Arlene has been talking about a post-Barisan Nasional, post-Pakatan Malaysa coalition. I think, and I think that is visionary at a time when nobody was even thinking about this. And in fact, people were criticizing KIT, including party members, because they couldn't see what KIT has envisioned. I think what happened after Muktamar was the political dynamic is now ripe for that sort of a new coalition making.
When you say a new coalition, would that include the leftist coalition as well, since it's post-Pakatan?
I've written a very lengthy article on this. It's on some of the major news portals. Anyone who the new coalition, actually I would rather term it as new coalition making rather than a new coalition, because we do not know what is the shape of this coalition. But what we do know the process. We do know what leads to this coalition, and what leads to this coalition is the common policy platform.
Mm-hmm.
There was agreed upon and there was endorsed unequivocally in the last general election by 52% of Malaysians. This is what Malaysians wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The common policy platform. So whatever I said in my article, I said whichever party or parties or coalition which will form the next federal government is or are the parties or coalition that endorses, strongly adopt the common policy platform.
I see. That's very wide here. But yeah, looking forward to new members coming in, I suppose, for the new coalition.
I think that is the point. I call this a more dynamic coalition making. It is not so fixated anymore as if it is not in the old setup of what I call an EPL, English Premier League type of politics.
Mm-hmm.
I support my team. I support my favorite team, Manchester United, Liverpool, right or wrong. I support my political party, right or wrong. I think you are right to say that it is definitely broader. It is definitely broader. in the sense that, I even propose that if, for example, at the state level, at the Penang state level, Barisan Nasional state leader were to agree to the policies of the state government, were to agree to the common policy platform, they should be allowed to be part of the coalition.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is something new. This is alien to us, but it is not new in world politics. It is definitely not new. We have this sort of coalition making in Europe. So it's doable.
So we are playing catching up, I suppose.
Definitely. It's a more mature sort of a politics because we allow local politicians like myself to adopt, or to rather to adhere to the local aspirations of the people. If my voters voted me or voted for the government, I should be allowed by my party to adopt that principle of the government.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Stephen Singh, we'll take one short break. When we return, we'll discuss more about future of DAP.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're with us on our Durian Heat, where we talk about issues that are critical in Southeast Asia. With me is Stephen Singh. He's the DAP Member of Parliament for Bukit Mertajam. So we discussed a lot about, forming a new coalition, about DAP, about how, Pakatan's demise has affected a lot of the members of the opposition. Now let's talk about DAP in itself. Recently, well, not so recently, DAP has started an initiative for a shadow cabinet, which has been long awaited by a lot of Malaysians. So perhaps you can share more about this.
Hi, Arlene. Hi again. But just to correct your term, it wasn't actually shadow cabinet, but rather a panel of parliamentary spokesperson.
Mm-hmm. So what's the difference? You just don't want to put the word cabinet in it.
No, but there's no prime minister. There's no shadow prime minister. We have no. The shadow opposition leader is not. The opposition leader is not part of the board. So it's definitely not a shadow cabinet in the UK term, in the Westminster term. But what we have here is, or rather, a parliamentary spokesperson, and these are issues that we have always been vocal about. For example, myself, I'm a deputy spokesperson for human resource, because I've always been highlighting issues on youth unemployment, employment, jobs, seniors and women employment, and then I'm also in the women's affairs committee, because this is my issue. These are all my advocacies. My colleague Zairil, education spokesperson for education, because these are things that he has always been highlighting or advocating in Parliament.
But why DAP want to start this? And then you say it's not a shadow cabinet, so
it is definitely not a shadow cabinet. So I think the reason is very clear. One is it makes it much more easier to identify certain spokesperson for certain issues. I think that's very important. But secondly, I think it also gives confidence to Malaysians that our party has people who are vocal in these areas. We have people, we have leaders who are championing these issues. We have talents who are ever ready to stand up for these issues that are important to all Malaysians. But at the end of the day, it's a very practical, pragmatic move. You need champion, or rather a person who can speak on certain issues.
See, so when you are going to have your first sitting?
So this is not a shadow cabinet, like I say. And we have DAP Member of Parliament has meetings all the time. Yeah, we have a meeting with each other, especially during parliamentary sitting, and sometimes even outside of parliamentary sitting.
But what's the difference between before you form this spokesperson thingy with before this? You still you guys are still critical on issues, right?
So that now Durian Heat FM, when they want to talk about education, they know who to go to. When they want to talk about foreign affairs, they know who to go to. When they talk about it makes life easier for everyone.
I see.
on a very pragmatic level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. One thing I want to highlight, one of the reason why I'm always excited when it comes to American politics is, of course, they are based on the presidential system, but also because they talk intensively on different policy issues and not just talk about it. If you go to their website, for example, I still remember back in 2008 when I was covering the Hillary Clinton and Obama contest for the Democratic primary run for president, and what I found out is they actually put all the different areas and what are their stance on that particular areas, and I thought it would be interesting if Malaysia, either it's the opposition party or Barisan Nasional or even individuals, not necessarily political parties, having those kind of clear stand. Okay, this is what I stand for in terms of, let's say, education, economy, on BRIM, on housing issue, on even on foreign non-domestic issues like ASEAN or the US and China. Is it being done, or would
But
probably
you've seen that in the 2013 manifesto, Pakatan Rakyat manifesto. That is our stand on policy issues.
But it's just a PDF. It's not interactive enough in a way. It's not like a citizen's budget, like in a way that people can actually understand clearly. Oh, this is what we DAP will provide for us when it comes to, let's say, housing.
No, but I think the content is there. Of course, then we can dispute about presentation. We can dispute about the format of presentation. But the content is there. What I'm trying to say is that the Pakatan Rakyat, DAP has consistently been presenting alternative budget as DAP and then later as Pakatan Rakyat, and then in the last January election we presented a common manifesto, which are really policies, not just white policies but specific policies on education, on transportation, on different issues in Malaysia. Yeah, we can dispute about its format and its presentation, but the content, or rather, I think that is what we were trying to do as a coalition, to present, not just to invite Malaysians to consider us, not just because we are a brand different from Barisan Nasional.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want to just engage on this level of Pakatan Ganti Barisan. These are nice slogans, but it's not merely a change from brand A to brand B, but rather the content of the coalition. Vote us because of this content. Vote us because of these policies that we are advocating. Not just vote us because we are a favorite team, our name sounds nicer, or we are better looking.
But sorry to say, the reality seems to be different. For example, cases on, issue on hudud, seems like PAS is still, hard on that. And when it comes to Islamization with the recent, Aurat covering, even in Pakatan Rule areas, they still have civil servants enforcing that.
So which was why the breakup, hence the breakup. Hudud was not part of our manifesto, not part of our whole common policy platform. Hence the breakup. You see, we were advocating for a pluralistic society, a fairer Malaysia, not a more religiously conservative Malaysia. So that was the deal breaker. Hudud was the deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
You see.
And one area regarding on economic policy especially, when it comes to opposition party, is it very much different from the Barisan Nasional? Because if we base it entirely on Selangor and Penang, it seems like the vision for the future of economy for these two states is as though it's similar to Singapore, which is to develop as much as possible, but pushing away the poorer segment of society to places where they can't afford.
I think that's not true. For the fact that when you say is there a difference, I think there is a very clear difference. There's a very clear difference. The main most obvious difference is moving away from crony capitalism. That's the patronage economy, crony capitalism practiced by UMNO Barisan Nasional. This is definitely a no-no in the Pakatan Raya state. But on the other hand, for example, in Penang, we have this policy which has been in place. Although the name just came out maybe a few years ago, but it has been in place since 2008. The Agenda Ekonomi Bersama, AES, which was really the predecessor, or rather the precursor of things like BRIM. And the Agenda Ekonomi Bersama was meant to empower the people from bottoms up. I think that is one strand of the difference. The Barisan Nasional economic policy is not only mainly focused on crony and political patrons, but also is a very top-down approach towards economy. I want to build big buildings. I want to do big projects, and in hope that there will be a trickle-down effect.
But isn't it happening in Penang as well? I mean, with the Fortune 500 road that recently Lim Guan Eng mentioned.
Don't get me wrong. You definitely need the macro growth. But on the other hand, I think the government is not neglecting growth from below, in the sense that how to empower the people through education, even though education is not part of, for example, the state government's jurisdiction. But we see the state government coming in to complement on the education policy by the federal government through various education programs in the state level. So there is an effort to also bring up the economy from the bottom, or rather to use the Selangor term, merayatkan economy.
But one area that I want to highlight is gentrification, especially in urban areas. It's not a uniquely regional thing, but it's actually a global phenomenon where when city become prosper, the lower segment of society usually they will be neglected. Is there and we are seeing this happening in front of our eyes. I'm just talking, let's say, in the area of Bangsa, South Bangsa, you see the poorer segment are being pushed away. But you also see it in Penang, and housing prices are increasing exponentially. What is the state government doing about this?
I love it that you mentioned this, because this is, what the state government has done in Penang is precisely what I said about merayatkan, or building the people from the bottom up. Like you say, it is a global phenomenon. Land prices increases, property prices increases, especially in places like Penang, Selangor, Johor, Kuala Lumpur. These are big cities. But what the Penang government has done? Look at Georgetown. We are building. It's already approved, and the process has already started. We are building affordable housing in the middle of Georgetown. It's over 1,000 units in the middle of Georgetown. You don't get it elsewhere. You don't get it. You don't get government building the houses for social housing in the most prime area in town. But this is what the state government is doing. And of course, we have several housing policies. For example, the Penang state government defined affordable housing, which was then adopted by the federal government. A new category of social housing, a recognition that not everyone wants a 42,000 ringgit low-cost housing. Some of them want better, higher range of housing, but they cannot afford, say, 500,000 or 300,000. So, in my area, in Seberang Perai, the range for affordable housing, which is a higher range from the low-cost and low-medium cost, the regular ones, they are still there, but we have defined another level of affordable housing up to 200,000.
Do you think DAP might, or maybe Penang State Government, I don't want to say DAP, Penang State Government might want to have a cost cap or price cap for either rental or sales of houses?
In fact, I've also written on this. There is the category of low cost, low medium cost. We already know there is a cap on the price. But like I say, what happened was in Penang, we actually defined a new category of social housing, affordable housing, and we kept it at 200,000. For Seberang Perai, 400,000 for the island. So there is a cap. But you cannot, the government should also allow the market to operate outside of the social housing market. You see. So there are two mechanisms at work in Penang. One hand, the social housing market. On the other hand, the private housing market. So the private housing market, we allow developers to build as the market dictates. But on the other hand, for the sake of housing affordability, there is the social housing market, which, like you say, there are caps, there are regulations on how many years before you can sell. There are moratorium of sale, which is really new. You cannot sell affordable housing for the first 5 years, and if you sell them, you can only sell them to a limited market, which is the list of applicant by the state government, and this list will be audited by independent auditors.
But
all these are new.
But how?
Of course, the perception of Penang being a city and the people are being marginalized is there. But I just met with an industry player yesterday, and she told me that they are actually complaining because they said that there is already a glut of affordable housing because of the government's constant push for affordable housing. So I think we are moving there. There are a lot of innovations in housing policies in Penang, and I think it's quite exciting.
The reason why I asked about housing mainly because of the recent property scam in Melbourne, which also involved Malaysian government officers. But the thing is, in Australia, there seemed to be a very clear guideline or a very clear eye on what is actually real free market, inflation of price, housing of houses price, and what is actually, just money laundering and just fakely increase the price just to gain more money. So how are you going to deal with this, in the future, especially when Penang becomes a city-state?
I'm not sure whether they have actually laws on that, but definitely the investigation was very impressive. They have a private, the contractors of the developer of the Dudley house hired private investigator to evaluate the property, and they found that this property was highly inflated beyond its original price. But whether there are laws to govern how much price you can put on a property, I'm not sure whether they are in Australia. But like I say, as Penang is growing, it is inevitable that land price, property price is going to go up. But what is important is government's intervention, and I think the Penang government has started to intervene. So much so that now it pains the developer that we have in the pipeline. Of course, this only happened in the last few years. We are talking about Penang, the 200-year-old Penang, about a 50-year Penang under the Barisan Nasional State government. But this new government intervention on housing policy happens in the last few years. So you are seeing in the pipeline, like for example, yesterday I was told about 40,000 affordable housing units of affordable housing are already in the pipeline, either in plan or has been approved or in the process of being built. So there is a very active intervention, so much so that now it pains the private market. And we are going to see this. We are going to see the result of this intervention in the next few years. And let me just share one very exciting new policy that the government is embarking. It's called the Shared Ownership Scheme, SOS, where the government comes in to say that if you cannot afford to buy, for example, a 42,000 low-cost housing, you can't afford to get a loan because of the stricter credit these days. The government comes in and guarantees 30%, or rather own or rather purchase 30% of the equity of the home. So much that the potential owner only pays 70% of it. So the government comes in joint partnership with house owner from the poorer segment of society to purchase the house. So that the owner, the buyer, now only has to pay, or rather has to take a mortgage for 70%. We are effectively lowering even the price of a low-cost housing.
That's a very interesting development from from Penang, I suppose. But unfortunately, we are towards the end of our show, and
Oh
thank
my
you
God,
very
yes.
much.
Thank you, Arlene.
Maybe we'll
Yeah,
have
I'm
another
excited.
show just to talk about
Yes, yes,
Penang
yes,
development
yes, I'm
policies.
excited to talk about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.